Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at Mythic Jessie Anderson, who is going to be the next promo character coming to the game. I do believe this is the third Jessie Anderson we've had in the game. We had a tough and an alert 6-star version, but I do believe this is the third and the first fast character. As you can see, she is geared up pretty much, as you see on the visuals. She has got the skull kneecaps. I did notice those pretty quickly, but she has also got a pretty vicious looking crowbar in her hands. She is looking pretty happy with herself on the left hand side. If we look at her art here in the zombie apocalypse, you got to rate that. You know, if someone's happy in the zombie apocalypse, they're loving life at the moment. Tier 5 Gold Mythic at level 600. Her stats are 12,248 attack, 14,289 defense, and also 14,289 HP. She is that fast character I said before. She is considered a medic. She is a mythic character, of course, and her allegiance is part of Alexandria, and I believe she's only maybe the second character that's been added to Alexandria as a gold mythic. We have had Bruce in the most recent event, and yeah, I think there's probably going to be more Alexandria characters for gold mythics on the way. Now take a look at her adrenaline rush, and it is called Experimental Medicine. It has got a recharge rate of 66 AP, which is quite fast. A line of enemies get 40% infection for 2 turns, heal up to 3 teammates by 35% of their max HP. So quite an offensive medic here. The infection, you know how infection works. Basically, that means that anybody that gets this 40% infection has to heal 40% of their base HP or their actual HP to be able to cleanse this, or have someone on the team that actually does a full cleanse. There are a couple of characters in the game that have full cleanses at the moment. Sadiq, for instance, from a silver standpoint, and I think Harlan also has a cleanse, but Sadiq's, I guess, going to be a bit more used on attack teams. Harlan, I think, is more of a defense team character. But this goes off pretty quickly. This is going to be a turn 3 rush on a defense team as long as she has got AP on attack. So she's going to be getting it off every 3 turns, and that is a pretty quick takedown. If I'm honest, infection is pretty powerful, as you know. The heal is nice, obviously. That's going to counter infection itself, but it's also just going to bring characters' HP up that are going to be lower because of the AoE damage, the heavy hitters, and that's quite nice. That's what you kind of would expect a medic to bring to the table, would be the heals, but the infection is a bit of a surprise. Okay, so we have got her rush up, and this is to show you how it works. You can select the line of enemies you want to do. You can obviously use her on an attack team as well. She is going to have quite good offensive capabilities. You're going to rush a line, and you can see that line gets 40% infection. It's pretty much just as simple as that. On an attack team, you can see on the defense team here, there are some healers. The characters I focused are healers, so you're going to have to use characters that use something that block their signature moves and their rushes so they don't heal that back up. But when she's used on a defense team, there aren't that many characters that are going to be used on attack that have got heals. So this is going to be much harder to counter when she is on a defense team. And she is definitely primarily going to be used on a defense team. Now you did also see the heals come in from her rush and just heal up the characters that they get focused off of the first 2 turns or the first turn. So that's just a nice little bonus for an attack team. On a defense team, it's just going to always target the people with the lowest HP. The people with lowest HP will get healed first. It's going to be more beneficial for you on a defense team anyway. If we look at the skill upgrades at tier 2, it gets an extra 10% healing. So originally it will be 25% at tier 1. And at tier 4, you get -1 turn on the infection duration. So originally it's going to be 3 turns, and now it's going to be 2. This means that they have to obviously heal that or cleanse that within 2 turns, or they are going to be instantly taken out. An infection takedown is just instantaneous, and you want that to be as quick as possible. So tier 4 is vital. It would be vital the majority of the time anyway, just because you want to give her as much stats as possible, but it's going to be even more so if you do want her to reach her maximum deadly potential. Now, the only upside of this character when it comes to balance is she does have a 66 AP cost rush. That means she can't go too stat heavy and still do this rush on a regular basis. She will require AP on attack, so she's only going to have one of the stats boosted from her weapon. So you're going to be able to have 40 or 50% defense or 40-50% HP, but the other one would have to be AP on attack. You could potentially sacrifice that 4 slot and go for the other stat, But would you want to do that for fast healing? That would obviously be completely up to you. Now, Jessie Anderson, of course, has a signature move, and it is called Adrenaline Shot. It has got an initial cooldown of turn 2, cooldown of 2 turns, number of uses unlimited, heal up to 2 teammates by 50% of their max HP. Those teammates recover from disarm. So this is going to be more useful on a defense team than anything, just because it is going to go off no matter what if people need to be healed. The disarm is just more of a bonus on top. But there are characters out there that are going to have lots of disarms out. And if we have characters like Wayland on attack, he can disarm 2 characters on the second turn, and potentially on the first turn as well, he can disarm 1. So she's going to be able to cleanse 2 of those characters. Now, she'll probably will prioritize the healing over the disarm cleanse. So let's say you've got 2 characters that are down to like 30% HP, but they're not disarmed, and then 2 of your other characters are, it's most likely only going to cleanse the disarm on the characters that are low HP if they were to have it. Okay, so the defense team is just about to get their turn 2, and as you can see, I have disarmed the 2 characters at the top, but I also have done a lot of damage to the character in the bottom right. This is just to see which characters it will prioritize. Will it heal 2 characters and also cleanse 2 separate, disarms? This is just to give you the information here. We're going to hit defend. It should hit heal Bruce. So Bruce should get the heal. He does. And it also healed Alice. And you can see that at the top right hand corner, Erica is still disarmed. So it will prioritize the people on the low HP, and the disarm will just be a bonus. So for Alice, it was a bonus. There was no disarm to cleanse on Bruce, and Erica will still be disarmed. And I think that would be kind of expected, the way it basically worked there, that it's going to prioritize the heals over the disarm cleanses. That's kind of just the way you would expect it to work. At tier 3, you do get a -1 to the starting cooldown. So originally it will be turn 3, but you can obviously get this character to tier 3 pretty straightforward. Tier 5 is going to be the harder one, and that's only going to affect the actual main cooldown, the time you can do it a second time, and that will go from 3 to 2 then. But you'll also get 30% heal boost at this point as well, which is quite significant. It will be 20% originally, and then it will be obviously getting a boost to up to 50%. And that is, like I say, that is quite significant. However, it will still select 2 characters the entire time. That isn't going to change throughout the entire upgrade process. The 30% healing upgrade part will require the military supplies to upgrade. So it looks like 2% per upgrade, with 15 upgrades required in total. So far so good when it comes to Jessie Anderson as a medic. She has obviously got those passive abilities as a mythic character, and these can dictate how well she can be used on attack or defense, or what other sort of things she can bring to the table. She is a medic, of course, so she will have spirit as a passive ability. That means 10% of all the healing she performs will also be granted as bonus HP. You might have seen this in the previous test, me just giving some bonus HP to the likes of Alice and Bruce. Next one is Rot Removal. When this character starts their turn, 20% chance for up to 2 teammates to recover from heal reduction. This is a nice little bonus on top. It isn't going to be too spectacular, and this is mainly just because there aren't too many heavy heal reductions in the game just yet. I think you pretty much just got Michonne and Alpha who's got the heaviest heal reduction. There might be 1 or 2 other characters, but it's mostly single target, or maybe like 2 characters that can get heal reduction, and there's no one at 100%, I do believe, especially within Mythics right now. The next one is Perfect Health. She has herself got a 40% heal reduction resistance, which is nice because you wouldn't realistically want to give someone heal reduction resistance unless it's really, really meta on an attack team, like it was at some points in the S-Class era. But this is just going to be a bonus otherwise. Like, let's say Confuse is the current meta resist, you give this character Confuse. Or if Taunt was the current meta resist, you give this character Taunt resist. She's always going to have the heal reduction resistance. So that's, like I say, it's just going to be a bonus on top where she can always heal herself as long as she resists that. The last one is called Healing Breath. When this character starts their turn, this character heals by 30% of their max HP. This is a guarantee. It will always happen no matter what. And this will make people probably just build a bit more towards her HP stat, knowing that every turn she's just going to boost it by 30% regardless, as long as she has been obviously attacked. She has to take damage for this to work. We'll test this out and see how it works. Okay, so the easiest way to show you how her healing passive works is just with her on a defense team by herself. I'm going to stack up the attacks. Now, it is worth noting I have got Bruce here, who has got heal reduction on his basic attack. She could resist that. She could resist it. She isn't going to this time around. She does take quite a lot of damage just because of Bruce doing trait damage. And you can see she healed a lot of that back up just because of her passive. Now that would stack with a fast healing weapon. She hasn't got a fast healing weapon right now. And 30% heal, as you know, would be like she having a fast healing weapon and there being 2 other fast characters in the team, making it 3 total. She could do that by herself. She wouldn't need a fast healing weapon to heal herself. And that's where you could potentially decide to sacrifice a fast healing weapon on her to give her extra stats. Obviously, that would be, again, completely up to you. Now, if we go into the skill upgrades for Jessie Anderson, you can see at tier 1, she will get rot removal. So that will be the cheapest one to upgrade. At tier 2, she'll get spirit. At tier 3, she'll get perfect health. And at tier 4, she'll get healing breaths. So there is no tier 5 requirement for any of her passives. And you can also see that for healing breath, it only requires 15 upgrades rather than what is normal when it comes to 20 upgrades. So in my mind, this is my guess, is a character like this potentially could get a healing breath part 2 in a future limit break. And that would potentially be this character being healed by 60% of their max HP. There is high potential for that in my opinion. If you see any character with 15 out of 15 on their passives, that could likely come in. Obviously that's just my theory on this, and we should find out reasonably soon on how that's going to work. So I like Jessie's passives. It does push her a bit towards defense team in my opinion when it comes to how they work. A lot of them are just like cleanses or self-heals and just going to be a bit more survivability. So I do think that she's going to be much more a defense team character. She can definitely be used on an attack and in other game modes as well, like Conquest for sure, just because of the infection on that rush. But mainly, it is going to be a defense team character. Now, you might have seen it before, but she has got a specialist skill, and that specialist skill is Tenacity. If this character's health is above 20%, and they would take damage that would take them out, their health would be reduced to 19% instead. This would mean she can't be one-shot by massive heavy hitters. For instance, Andrea couldn't rush her and take her out and get a follow-up. She'd actually block those sort of specialist skills herself, which is actually kind of nice. But she would be susceptible to multi-hit rushes. So for instance, if a multi-hit rush came in and took her down to 20% HP, or 19% as it would be here, she would then probably be taken out by the second hit. But she can obviously absolutely defend those multi-hits if she does have the correct weapon. Okay, so here we are on turn 2. I can decide to do a bit of damage towards Jessie Anderson. I've got a couple of characters that can do trait damage. We're going to do some basic attack damage here, and I can do the signature move of Michonne, which should hit reasonably hard. But you can see the Tenacity blocked her from being taken out. Now, she has got a heavy bleed on her, but she will obviously be able to heal that up. A, because she's, rushing, but also she's going to be getting the 30% heal from her passive. So it will actually kind of counter that bleed, which is something that you should note. And the main bonus with this is just it's going to take an extra attack, at least, to take her out. And with a lot of multi-hit rushes out there, that is going to be quite good. You're going to waste an extra attack to take out a character. And she has an extra chance to absolute defend that. Like I said before, like if she has got an absolute defend weapon, multi-hit rushes, she will be able to absolute defend them. And she can do that at any percentage HP. She could take a massive hit the first time and then absolute defend the next one. That there is always the chance of that happening. So while I don't see Tenacity as being top tier, it does add just another level of survivability. Now, she's going to make this proc every turn because she's going to heal herself by 30% of her base HP. So if you do not actually take her out, she'll go over the required HP. So you actually have to take her out with multiple hits every single time. So she could become quite frustrating depending on how you build her. Now, as we saw on her art, Jessie Anderson does have an attached weapon, and it is her sturdy crowbar. It has got 25% HP base, a medium bonus to AP when attacking, and an upgraded version of Leech Life on here. When attacking, a better chance to regain HP by 120% of the enemy HP lost. This is the best upgrade we've seen on a mythic weapon, but it's still, Leech Life is just one of the worst upgrades you could possibly have. If this was actually a good upgrade, for instance, if it was like impenetrable defense, this weapon might be actually decent enough to just start from the get-go on the upgrades. It would, obviously that would be down to whether you wanted to go for HP or defense, or wanted to go for other stats. Completely up to you. Now, it does start as a 4-star weapon. I had to upgrade it to 5-star weapon to actually put a weapon in her hands for the tests, but this is what it will start off at base. So that is Jessie Anderson as a mythic character, and I think she is pretty good. On a defense team, she's going to be quite frustrating, especially if you have a really good setup team already. She's going to slot in, and she can be your takedown potential on a really tanky team. This is something that all defense team needs, is someone who has the potential to take out someone on an attack team. You can't just be an outlast team. You have to have some sort of danger when it comes to being able to take out your opponent. Otherwise, they will eventually beat you. They will eventually be able to take you down. You can eventually take down outlast teams. But teams with this sort of like takedown potential when it comes to her rush, well, she's going to be very dangerous. And we don't, like I said, we don't have any real access to good offensive healers. And I think, well, Erica's pretty much going to be it. Or like Aiko with her, I think her passive, which does a little bit of a heal. I think some people might use Alice. So, they're not really widespread, and you'd only really want to use one of these characters. And I think Erica's pretty much it in terms of who's going to bring the big heals to the table to kind of counter the kind of infection that Jessie Anderson is dealing out. So, yeah, pretty dangerous character for sure. I think she's going to be really, really good for Conquest as well, because you are going to be able to get her rush off at least twice and actually have the infection take place in the first 10 turns. So she could potentially take out 4 characters just by herself, and eventually you're going to get round to mythic characters being required to use like heavy defensive stats just to survive, and Jessie Anderson doesn't need any offense, so she's going to be just slotting really, really nicely there. So all round a very dangerous medic for sure, and I do think her weapon looks pretty brutal. Like I said before, it looks absolutely nuts. If you can see it over her shoulder, you would not want to get hit by many weapons in RTS, let's be honest, but this one in particular looks it looks disgusting. That is the end of my video though, guys. If you do have any thoughts on Jessie Anderson, her kit, her visuals, please leave them in the comments down below. Please hit the like button if you did enjoy the video or find it informative. It is very much appreciated. I want to thank you very much for tuning into this one though, guys, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.